So we go live in 3, 2, 1, roll the footage. Hello everybody, welcome to the Strategy Show. I'm your host Simon Severino. Super pumped. Today we have the director of Flightpath. He has sold over the last 25 years, built and sold 3 professional services businesses. He is right now about to launch a new program called the Strategic Authority Marketing Program. Hello, everybody. Greg Roworth.
Good morning, Simon. Nice to be here.
Most people say Simon. My parents say Simone. Choose what you like. And we are going to unpack how you can position your company through marketing, how to make pricing irrelevant through the right formulation of your value, and how to attract premium clients via marketing. This is exciting, Greg. So, yeah, what are you currently creating?
Well, I'm currently working on the program, the Strategic Authority Marketing Program. It's actually launched, but I'm still completing the final parts of the content for that. And I have currently 4 clients going through that program and already getting great results. So very happy with the progress of that.
Cool. How does that work?
It's a 12-week online program with 12 modules of video training content, plus a once a week a Zoom call, group coaching call, so that clients come on and they're able to ask any questions they have about whatever they're working on through the program, plus any other business challenges that they might be having.
Wonderful. CEO tip number 1, position your brand through marketing.
Yeah, well, through strategic authority marketing, really. And what that's all about is there was a survey done by LinkedIn a few years ago now, but the results of that survey showed that around 92% of business decision makers prefer to deal with the thought leader in their market or the authority in the market. And what I see, the way most people are marketing themselves, particularly using their websites, if you look at most websites, particularly in professional service areas, which is my target market, but generally across the board, the way most businesses are marketing is promoting who they are and what they do. But that's not particularly relevant to people who have a problem that they need to have solved. So, to position the business as the authority in the market is more about focusing on who's the ideal client that you're working with, or the premium clients that work with you, and what is their major problem that you solve. So to position yourself as the strategic authority in the market is more about putting out, what is the problem you solve and who do you solve it for, so that you're relevant to that particular target market before you are actually offering any service, because the service isn't relevant to anyone who doesn't know they need it.
So, for example, their website says, we are a global consulting company and we are based in San Francisco and London and Singapore, and we do this and that.
That's right.
Instead they should say, okay, this is the problem we can solve for you right now.
Yeah, and who it's for. So for a particular type of client, this is the problem we solve, because that will get people's attention. If you're in a party in a crowded room and you hear your name called out, or spoken about, even whispered across the room by somebody, you're immediately on alert. You hear that. So it's human nature to respond to something that's in our head or that's important to us. And for most people, the biggest focus they have is the problem that they're concerned about and they're thinking about, keeping them awake at night. So if you see that problem being mentioned, then you're going to pick that up. or the alternative is, if you're a business like this, they're going to pay attention to that. But yeah, they don't pay attention to here's who we are and here's a list of all the services we provide. That's meaningless to people.
So I hope our website is okay. I was thinking, what's on our website right now? The first sentence is CEOs sprint with us to double their revenue in 90 days.
Sounds pretty good to me. You've got.
Who is it for, and what's the problem that we solve? Cool, check. Woo. All right. What are some examples of people doing it right that you see?
Yeah. Well, there's a few people doing it right, but one business that really impresses me is a business called Buy One, Give One, which is a company.
Oh, you are doing the strategy award right now. Okay, let's move directly to our segment, the strategy award.
Strategy award.
Welcome to the official segment where you can pick now the one winner.
Right. So, yeah. Well, it applies to both in this case, but yeah, there's a company, Buy One, Give One, which is a company run by Paul Dunn and Masami Sato. They are a support company that is helping businesses through a membership in Buy One, Give One to support worthy causes around the globe. And right now they're very much involved in supporting the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that have been promoted since 2015 by world business leaders. And so most of their focus is around how to support those goals of sustainability and improving the poverty situations in the world, global, the climate change, all of those sort of causes that are worthy of support. So what they do is enable people to, or businesses to support those causes, and 100% of the money given to those causes goes directly to those causes. So they're very promoting themselves very well. I mean, Paul Dunn is a marketing genius from many years ago. He comes from Australia, like I do, originally. But they're very, very worthwhile supporting that particular cause, and the way they promote their business is extremely good.
You have built 3 companies and sold them. What did you learn on that path?
Yes, a lot of learnings along that journey. It certainly was no overnight success. I had lots of struggles along the way, and it was very challenging. I think probably like most professional services, I was good. My background is in accounting, and and running a business wasn't ever a natural thing, or I didn't have any great talent about running a business. So what I had to learn along the way was how to actually attract the right sort of clients, and not just have transactional clients, which is where most businesses get caught up in. Any client's a good client to start with, so you take on board work that you probably shouldn't take on, or clients that aren't really the best for you. So one of the very early learnings for me was to be more selective about who I take on as a client. And once I established that and set some criteria around who I wanted to work with, then came the challenge of how do I actually attract those clients. So I went and sought help. I used a lot of marketing consultants and web designers and SEO experts and all of those type of people. But the challenge I had was that they didn't seem to understand how to market a professional service. And the results we got through that process were pretty uninspiring. So being a persistent person that I am, and a consultant in my background, I decided I'd have to work out for myself how to attract the right sort of clients. And that was a bit of trial and error, learning along the way what worked and what didn't work. And eventually I cracked the code on how to make that work. and developed a system that's now part of our strategic authority marketing program in having a number of different steps in that process that you need to work through to actually nurture and educate clients before they come into a sales meeting, and have them come to that sales meeting already pre-sold and basically asking to become your client rather than you having to sell them in that sales session. So yeah, learning how to do that has really been the formula for success in the last couple of businesses, particularly to enable me to grow them significantly and be able to sell them.
Absolutely. We are doing this also, the ideal client, in the very first week of our accelerator, because if you don't do that like 6-7 levels deep and say no to everybody else, you will have bad results and a bad NPS and a bad start and bad brand. And we are now partnering with Google in a program where we educate and grow businesses. And what I learned from them, they have a lot of experience and numbers on that, on targeting and creative. And what I learned from them is they do the same thing, thinking really deep about the ideal client. So when they say, if you just go for demographics, 95% of the people just go for demographics. Like, somebody is 75 years old, he loves dogs, and he lives in Europe. But what you then get is, this is both Prince Charles and Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, that's right.
So it couldn't be more wrong as a targeting. So you have to go deep, very deep in differentiating and finding out the dreams, the pains, the goals, their aspirations, what keeps them awake at night, what's their longing. And so this is so critical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your second CEO tip is how to make pricing irrelevant via marketing.
Yeah, well, once you establish authority positioning, and which is usually about, presenting yourself or the owner of the business as the authority, like Richard Branson, for example, everyone knows is the owner of the Virgin companies. He's the figurehead, but he's not the one that you have, selling you the airline tickets or greeting you at the door of the aircraft or flying the plane. So there's a process that you need to transfer authority from the person to the business. And how we do that is by creating 3 specific models. One is an assessment model, so that a client can, or we can educate a client around where they sit in terms of the level of success that they're achieving. So there's a best practice level, there's the worst practice level, and there might be 2 or 3 levels in between. So a client, we'll be able to assess, we're, 2/3 of the way up the ladder here. So there's a long way to go. Then there's the success model. So what does that success element really look like? How will they operate? How will they feel? And what results will they be getting when they achieve that real success that they're looking for? So that gives them a real understanding of, again, how far they have to go, but the benefits of actually working towards that success level and seeing that can really impact their performance and the results they get. And ideally for me, my clients, it's not just about the money, but it's about the impact they have, the good that they're able to do for their clients.
Can you walk us through one example?
Let's see. Off the top of my head, there's so many to choose from. A success model is, well, let's use one that is very familiar to me, my own book, which is behind me here, Run Your Business on Autopilot. The other way, I was back to front here. There's a success model I have in that book called the business leverage model. And that's a model that I use a lever, which has a fulcrum, and the person who's standing on the lever making it go up. So that has 2 elements of that model. The first is the personal power. So how much personal power you have determines how much pressure you're able to put on that lever. Then the fulcrum is the other area that impacts how much leverage you can get. And my fulcrum has another model in itself, which I call the Vasetta model, which is an acronym for 6 different elements that you have to get right or operate effectively in your business, which is around vision, mission, values for the V, your objectives, the strategy, the execution, teamwork, and accountability. So looking at all of those elements and how to operate effectively in that Vasetta process is how to determine how successful your business will be. So basically the success model makes it very clear on how to achieve success in a specific set of areas. So it's not vague, it's not random, it's a success formula.
Strong. And if I'm working with you and we go through this assessment, if I'm on the higher end or lower end of clients' satisfaction, how do we work through that?
Right. Well, that's where the third model, the process model, comes into play, and that's about exactly how you work through that program. How you work together with a client. So in my case, my process model is around initially a 9-step program, which is what we talk about in our strategic authority marketing program. So the first step of that is creating authority positioning. The second level is what I call focus specialization, which is the element of how to make price irrelevant because you're differentiating your business from every other competitor and creating that authority in the business so that clients only want you and see that your process is an exact match for what they need. Then the third element is the strategic attraction marketing system, which is how do you actually attract your ideal clients and what programs or what systems you use to do that, and how you educate clients through that process from being a stranger to being a fan, and taking them step by step through that process so they turn up at your sales meeting basically demanding to become a client.
2 professional books that inspire you?
That's such a huge, as you can see, I love reading. That's I've promised I've read most of those books, but basically anything by Seth Godin. I think he's a master, and his latest book called This Is Marketing is really, again, it inspires me around marketing because that's where my focus is now, but whatever he says goes in my book. And another book that inspires me, one that I learnt from very early on in my business life cycle, was a book called The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard, which really talked about how to operate effectively as a manager without being the person who has all the responsibility for doing all the work, but how to effectively delegate and make sure that you're getting work done effectively through other people and creating that leverage, which is what I've learnt to do in my business.
What's the one thing you got out of the 1 Minute Manager that you apply?
Really being clear on what needs to be done, and the real, I guess it comes back to even the vision and the mission of the business. Being really clear about what it is, the why. Why are you in business in the first place? And one of the things I discovered is if your why is all about the money, how to get rich, that's not very inspiring for anyone else. Who else is apart from your mother or your family wants to see you get rich? So your why has to be more outward focused, and the why needs to be about the impact you can have on the world or on your clients, and so that you're actually inspiring others to come and join you in that cause and support you to achieve that cause. Then when they're inspired to do that, you don't have to motivate them, you don't have to be driving them or pushing them to achieve that result. They're already wanting that for themselves.
Strong. And let's go to your third CEO tip, which is how to attract premium clients.
Yes, well, there's really 3 steps in this process, and I think again, where a lot of people make the mistake in marketing is they try to do it in 2 steps, which is, basically saying, here's what I've got, here's how to get it. And to me, that's like seduction marketing. It's like going up to someone in a crowded room and, first time you meet them, ask them to marry you. It's likely to get resistance and you'll get pushed away, which is what happens in most sales meetings. So my process is about breaking that down into a courtship process rather than a seduction process. And a courtship process is about building a long-term committed relationship. So it's about really reflecting normal human behavioral aspects of that process. So you don't race up to someone and ask them to marry you. You firstly introduce yourself and focus on them. You ask them questions about themselves. So you're in a marketing situation, you need to be providing value first so that people actually find you attractive rather than you trying to sell. Then the next step, and I call that point entering the conversation. So if you're able to get someone's attention by focusing on something that's important to them, then they'll start to pay attention to you. Then the next step is enter into an ongoing communication process so that you can educate and nurture them so that they understand why you're doing what you do and how it's going to be beneficial for them. And then finally get to the point where they're ready for that sales conversation and they're already pre-sold, ready to buy without you having to do much convincing. So breaking down that process into a courtship process rather than a seduction process has really been effective for me. And
courtship, not seduction. Great.
That's right.
And in service businesses, because we work a lot with service businesses, one of the things that we encounter is a long sales cycle, because this courtship process can take up to 12 months, 16 months. What is your experience? How can service businesses shorten that sales cycle?
Okay, great question. This process is really, it gives you the capability to shorten that cycle, because when you're able to use the models, so the assessment model, the success model, and your process model in your marketing process, you're showing people first of all the need for change, so that creates more urgency for them to take action. Then you're showing them how you can affect that change, which gives them confidence that you actually have a process to achieve results. And if you can support that with testimonials from previous clients, they can see that you are the authority in what you do. So that, again, 2 elements of the authority you have in the market and the confidence they see around the process that you work with gives them more confidence to go ahead. And so you can shorten that sales cycle by really educating and nurturing the client before you get into a sales session, so that they're not, as that sales session is not the first time they start to think about, do we need to change? So, and rather than have a long drawn out process where they might ask you for a proposal, you have to send in the proposal and then they think about it a few months and then decide when they're ready and how can they fit it into their budget. If you've created the case, and I feel that marketing should be the same process as if you're a prosecutor in a criminal trial. Your marketing process should be your mechanism to prove your case. So your case should be that you have the solution for the particular client and that working with you is going to get them the results they're looking for. So your marketing system really needs to prove that case, but most people don't really go to that level in their marketing, particularly when they're just saying, here's who we are and here's what we do. So if you're able to build a marketing system that actually proves the case that the client needs to change, there's value in the change, that there's a return on investment from the change, and that you're the company to help them achieve that change, then that sales cycle can be reduced dramatically, because you've proven your case and they need to take action.
Seth Godin changed the perspective on marketing by saying you need to go for permission, get the permission and send something that they are waiting for and they want it, and they would miss it if you don't send it.
That's right.
So everybody was like, okay, I create a series of valuable content, and I will set it up an automation. What now happens is, last week I had a client. He told me that the Forbes was writing about them, but he didn't see it. Even if he's a Forbes subscriber, he was tagged on LinkedIn by somebody else, and then he saw it. Then he went back on his Forbes in his inbox, and so yes, he got it via email, but it was one of 200 emails of that day, and it was by Gmail deprioritized as promotion.
Yeah.
So what used to work in marketing doesn't work anymore. How do you help your clients get cut through the noise?
Yeah, that's a great question. And again, that is a huge challenge for most people. And that's why positioning yourself as the authority is so critical. You need, people open the emails that from people they recognize. They don't open emails that look like something that's not important to them. But there are, people like Seth Godin who's, writes an email every day or a blog post every day. And I was a subscriber for many years, and every time I got one of his emails, I opened that email. So it's really, who are you, and are you important enough to have those emails opened? And so positioning yourself as the authority in the market creates that level of attention, gets the attention, which is the first thing, but then that ongoing value-based nurturing sequence where every communication you have is of value to your client. So it's not about selling, it's about providing value. So when those two things are there, you've got their attention and they know that you're providing value, your emails are getting opened and read and action taken on. So you have to cut through the noise. The other aspect of that is I see so many people providing advice type posts on LinkedIn or Facebook or even in their emails, and more advice is, there's so much free advice available now that no one wants more advice, and every time you provide advice you're actually just adding to the noise. So your communications have to be not how-to tips or advice type information. They've got to be authoritative pieces where an authority is someone who has an opinion that's different from the majority in the market. They're saying, everyone else says this, but I'm saying do this. So why is everyone else wrong? And so much focusing on why the norm is wrong, why the status quo is wrong, why it's hurting you to keep doing things the way you're doing. So focusing on the why, and particularly why things are wrong, there's a need for change, is the way that you actually get attention and you get people reading your information and paying attention to you, rather than just putting out more noise.
Today I was running and preparing for our conversation, so I was thinking about marketing. What is marketing today and what's changing? One thing that I am really really clear about is that it's not about content anymore. Content is not, as you just say, there is enough content out there.
Yeah.
So what is it that is needed, and what is the why behind people consuming content? Because they still consume it a lot, and even more right now. So let's try to get deeper there. My first ideas were, when people consume content, they are searching for identity validation. Yes, this is me, this is where I am.
Yeah.
Context validation, this is where I am in the context of society and economics. This is where I am in my journey as a business leader. And they are searching for answers to their question when they have a specific question, and they're searching for words for experience they don't have yet words for.
Correct.
What else do you think? Is
Yeah.
why people still consume content?
Yeah, well, you're so right in what you said around identity and context. And I think basically when Dan Kennedy, who's a leading marketing person, said people are basically walking around with their umbilical cord in their hand looking for a place to plug it in. A very crude little analogy, but it actually makes a lot of sense. You know, people don't really want to learn how to get the answers. They want someone else to give them the answers. And really, people are looking for a hero that they can follow. And so someone who's been there and done it and can show them how to do it is who people are looking for. And so they're not looking for advice or, you know, content so much to learn things, but they're looking for someone who can say, you're going the wrong way, here's where to go, I'll show you the way, just hold my hand and I'll take you. And if you can do that in your marketing, that's what gets the cut through. That's what gets people paying attention to you and following you.
It sounds convincing, and it is also my observation. One part of me says, do I really want to do it? Because this is reinforcing an authoritative and a very dependent state of mind. I would like society and people to be much more autonomous, courageous, and not to search for authorities. So how do we deal with that paradox?
Yeah, well, I think everyone likes to be independent, but no one likes to be alone. So, you know, there's always that paradox in society. And I think, you know, the only way progress is made is by someone taking a lead. And someone needs to take a lead to attract a following. So it's about, you know, as the marketer, you know, if you want to help your clients change and you know, have an impact, positive impact in their lives, you have to be the one who stands up and takes the lead and, you know, offer to show them the way. So, you know, I mean, I was a shy accountant and I never expected myself to be an authority figure in marketing and in business. But, you know, you have to get over yourself. And sometimes, you know, when you see that you've got a calling, you have to take that calling and step into that identity. You know, and, you know, that's, you know, the identity is so much a part of it too. When you see what you have to do, see who you need to become to lead the people that need to be led, you create that identity, but also that identification with your clients is part of the process as well, because they will identify so much with you having done that they will see you as someone worthy of following. So not sure if that exactly answers your question, but that's my experience of, you know, how that process works.
Yeah, I think one of the absolute primordial needs is belonging and influence. And maybe your example of the umbilical cord, maybe belonging comes before influence. So
Yes.
maybe we need to pick people up at their bus stop where they are without judging, just picking them up. And then in the journey, and then teaching that whenever you see the Buddha, you have to kill the Buddha. So that you have all this authority in yourself and you don't need it really. And so that needs to happen in my world quite quickly. But maybe first we have to pick them up where they are right now and take their needs seriously.
Yeah.
And who should be my next guest on the show?
I'd recommend trying to get Paul Dunn from Buy One Give One. He's a great presenter, a great speaker, and a very inspirational person.
Second time he was nominated. Why do you nominate him?
Well, because of the work he's doing with Buy One Give One and the positive impact he's making on the world, but also he's basically asking people to join his cause. You know, he's got a very worthy cause and he's attracting followers to him. So he's the authority in supporting those the sustainable development goals, and bringing people on that cause. And the more people that join that cause is going to just make the world a better place. So any promotion or exposure he gets, I think, to support that cause is something that would be valuable.
Where can people find you the best?
Well, what I'm actually prepared to do is offer people a 30-minute video training session, which they can access through my website. So I've created a special link where they can get that, which is, my business is called Business Flightpath. So the website is businessflightpath.com. And if you put a / and sprint, then that will take you to a page where you can get access to 30-minute video training on the pathway to creating your strategic authority positioning. And if you opt in for that, you'll get emails from me, which will give you my email address, so that then if you want to contact me further and talk to me, then just email me and we can arrange something.
Beautiful. Thank you. businessflightpath.com/sprint. Thank you so much for your generous offer. And come back soon, Greg.
No, it's been a pleasure, Simon. I've enjoyed our chat today, and I'm sure we see eye to eye on a lot of things.
Keep rolling.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed that episode of The Strategy Show. Make sure to like this video below and subscribe so that you can stay up to date with every episode of The Strategy Show. Get daily CEO tips from CEOs for CEOs.